This segment, I wanted to discuss this former land lady, I guess she would be called, complaining about the rules that have meant that she's had to lose tenants, and why she's no longer a landlady. So this should be fun.
The government have made it impossible for me to be a landlord, and my tenants have gone into social housing.
Okay, why has the government made it impossible for you to be a landlord, Marion?
Legislation.
What legislation's that?
Well, my properties were HMOs.
Mm-hmm.
The government...
So is that multiple occupancy?
Or the inspector came along and they made 3 sets of people homeless, saying that the house was...
Overcrowded?
Yeah, overcrowded, that's right.
Unsafe?
No, overcrowded.
Right.
So it's overcrowded. So I don't know the specifics of her case. So if we have a look at the rules around it, so she talked about 3 people. So if the house is rented to at least 5 people from more than one household, so we can rule that one out. Some or all the tenants share a kitchen or bathroom or toilet. At least one pays rent. You meet spatial requirements. You have no criminal record or breaches of landlord law. So if we look at the bedroom size, because she talked about it being overcrowded. So 6.51 square meters for one tenant over 10 years old, 10.22 square meters for 2 tenants over 10 years old, 4.64 square meters for one tenant under 10 years old. So the question is, like, if you're talking about space requirements, this doesn't say how big the kitchen has to be or a living room, if there is any, right? These bedrooms are quite small. So, she's talked about not overcrowding or whatever, right? So it's probably, if it fell under this one, so probably 2 people who are there and the place is too small. Like, that's on you. Like, you can measure out the space of the rooms. Like, it's not hard. So I don't know what she was doing. Like, I wish Thornbury made her be a bit more specific on it. But these are the previous rules. This isn't even the Labour stuff that's coming in. This isn't nothing to do with the Renters' Rights Bill 24/25, because that hasn't even been enforced yet or made a law yet. So the previous stuff she's complaining about, the stuff that's completely abhorrent for renters.
Okay.
So that's fine. And they housed them in accommodation, which was much, much smaller.
I mean, do you agree as a landlady, though?
How do you know where they were even put? Like, did they tell you, like, oh yeah, this room's tiny now? And then surely it wouldn't make sense, like, if they were put in social housing, how could the council run social housing smaller than these room requirements? It doesn't really make sense.
I'm not a landlady anymore.
Sorry, as a former landlady, from your experience, do you agree that we've got to a stage where tenants really have not had any rights, and that if they complained to their landlord or landlady, then they could just get chucked out?
So this is facts. You could get hit with a no-fault eviction. People have complained to their landlords, and sometimes they do get chucked out. They complained to the council over things like black mould, and nothing has happened because the councils argue they don't have the resources to deal with this stuff, even though it's very much part of their job to deal with this stuff. Situations where the councils have even put in force remedial works have to happen, and landlords haven't done it. There was a really famous case a couple of years ago. A bunch of I think they were law students, took their landlord to court over the fact that they weren't dealing with the property. You had a Labour MP who has had a house that's been full of mould and other things. Nothing happened to that MP in terms of punishment, in terms of a ban. They had outdated certificates and things like that. So in terms of tenants' rights, we don't really have a ton in this country.
I think that's in the minority of instances.
Yes.
It certainly didn't happen in my case.
I'm sure it didn't in relation to you, but I'm just saying that in order to get the balance right, so that tenants have rights but landlords have rights, so that we have enough rented accommodation, but also that the accommodation's of an appropriate standard, tenants do need to have some.
So yeah, I don't know. Like, Thornbury did not really do well. She barely pushed back in this thing. But if it was to do with overcrowding, like these are the room sizes that are set out by the law here in terms of what the space needed. So if she was offering people rooms that were this small, she doesn't really have a leg to stand on in my opinion. And so she can cry more about it, but we can talk about the merits of a landlord and things like that. What do they actually offer to people or to the country as a whole, which is very little in my opinion. In terms of being parasites or whatever, I'm more privy to that argument because they don't really add much. All they do is take away housing from people who want to purchase a house, and they get pushed into the rental market, really. But yeah, I think for the situations that happen where people are forced to move out of wherever they live because of toxicity, be it from family members or a partner or whatever, the council should have more than enough space to deal with that kind of stuff. So, for me, unless you want your own space to live with a significant other or just live on your own, then that's where kind of I think it makes sense to have, rented accommodation. But for anything when it comes to safety and things like that, that should be down to the council. It shouldn't be in the hands of private landlords. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can. And hopefully this former landlady cries more.